The first glimpse at the galaxy had long been filled with powerful civilizations. For centuries, the Galactic Council had ruled with an iron fist, ensuring that only the most dominant species had a seat at the table. They had conquered countless worlds, yet there was one planet they had always overlooked: Earth. For years, the galaxy had dismissed Earth as a backwater world with little significance. Humans, seen as weak and primitive, had no advanced technology, no spacefaring abilities. They were nothing more than a forgotten species, a footnote in the grand history of the galaxy. No one took them seriously, but then something changed. The alien fleet had arrived on the outskirts of the solar system, drawn by a mysterious signal they had intercepted. The signal was old, seemingly coming from an ancient ship that had been dormant for centuries. To the aliens, this was just another mystery to solve, a puzzle to be unlocked. But when they arrived and saw what lay ahead, they froze. For the first time in their long existence, they found themselves looking at something they could not explain. Captain Raid, the commander of the alien fleet, stood in front of the massive view screen aboard his flagship. His alien eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the data. But nothing made sense. "What are we looking at?" he muttered to himself, barely believing what he was seeing. The massive, looming shape that appeared before them was no ordinary space station or alien ship. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered. There, hanging in the void of space, was a human warship, and it was unlike anything they could have ever imagined. Its design was sleek, sharp, and formidable, nothing like the primitive ships the Council's fleet had expected from Earth's distant ancestors. The ship had glowing markings that pulsed like electric veins beneath its surface, and energy shields rippled around it in waves. The sheer scale of the ship was overwhelming. It dwarfed anything the alien fleet had in their arsenal. "This can't be real," Commander Iran, the fleet's second-in-command, whispered in disbelief. "Humans, they can't have built this. It's impossible." The alien fleet paused, suspended in space, unsure of what to do next. They had always been dominant, never afraid of any species they encountered, but this was different. This was something unknown, something new, and it made them feel vulnerable. The human warship had somehow slipped under their radar, hidden for who knows how long. But now it was fully awake. The aliens had underestimated humanity for centuries, and now, this first glimpse of Earth's hidden power would change everything. Raid's heart pounded in his chest. He knew one thing for sure: the message from Earth was no longer just a mystery, it was a warning. The team of humans aboard the warship, still unaware of the alien fleet's presence, monitored their instruments. Commander Maya, who had been overseeing the ship's systems since the warship's awakening, stood by the central control station, focused on the ship's scanners. Her team was still getting used to the new technology embedded within the ship. It had been dormant for millennia, and now, with humanity's return, it was alive again, responding to their presence. Maya's mind raced as she pieced together the strange readings coming from deep within the galactic core. "This isn't a drill," she said softly, her voice shaking slightly. She couldn't shake the feeling that something far greater than they could understand was unfolding. The warship was responding, but to what? The ancient ship had always been tied to humanity's history, but she knew this was more than just a relic. As Maya and her crew continued to analyze the readings, their alert system suddenly blared to life. Red lights flashed across the bridge. A new signal had been detected, and it was coming from an alien fleet. It was strange, far more advanced than any signals they had ever received from their previous expeditions. Maya's heart skipped a beat. "They found us." Maya's voice trembled slightly as she processed the message. "It's the alien fleet. They're here." Meanwhile, Captain Raid issued a code red order across the fleet, and the ships began to position themselves around the human warship. The alien fleet had no idea what it was dealing with. The human ship's technology was beyond anything they could have imagined. The signals they had received were almost like a call, an invitation to explore, but now it felt like an ominous warning. "Commander, we need to make a decision," Lieutenant Vera said, his voice filled with concern. "Should we engage? Should we prepare for battle?" Raid took a deep breath, his eyes never leaving the warship on his screen. For the first time, he wasn't sure how to proceed. The warship was alive, and it seemed to be watching them, waiting. Its shields flickered, showing signs of readiness. The ship wasn't making a move, but it was clear that this was no ordinary encounter. This was the moment that could either make or break their galactic empire. "I want to know everything about this ship. Prepare to make contact." In that moment, Maya's heart pounded. She knew the aliens were out there, hidden in the vastness of space. They were observing them, preparing for something. What were the aliens planning? Were they going to attack, or was this going to be the beginning of a new galactic relationship? With a deep breath, Maya prepared to face the unknown. The warship had been silent for so long, but now humanity was about to step into the galactic Spotlight, the time for hiding was over. Asterisk the standoff as the massive alien fleet hovered in orbit above Earth. The atmosphere was tense with anticipation. The human warship, standing like a colossal sentinel against the stars, had become the center of the galaxy's attention. The aliens, accustomed to ruling the universe with an iron fist, were now facing something they had never encountered: humanity's unknown power. The fleet had come to investigate, to probe, but now they were frozen. Unsure whether they were dealing with an ally or an enemy, Captain Raid stared at the view screen. His eyes narrowed in deep contemplation. His fleet was positioned at the edge of Earth's atmosphere, but not a single ship had moved forward. The human warship had not responded to any of their attempts to communicate, nor had it made any aggressive movements. It simply loomed, a silent threat in the vastness of space. Why had they never seen anything like this before? Why had humanity hidden its true strength for so long? "We can't just sit here forever," Lieutenant Vera said, his voice sharp with frustration. "We need to engage. We need to know what this warship is capable of." Raid took a slow breath, the weight of his decision heavy on his chest. The Empire had encountered many species before, but none had made them feel this vulnerable. The human warship was not just technologically superior, it was a mystery. One that could either lead to their downfall or provide an unexpected path to peace. "No, we wait," Raid commanded, his voice firm. "We need to understand this ship before we make any moves. It's more than just a ship. It's a message, and I intend to hear it." Back aboard the human warship, the crew was on high alert. Though there was no visible movement from the alien fleet, Maya stood in the heart of the control room, staring at the data streaming across her console. The alien fleet was still there, waiting. But what were they waiting for? Why hadn't they attacked? Her hands moved across the controls, adjusting sensors to analyze the alien ships more closely. "Commander Maya." A voice came from behind her. It was Tariq, the leader of the Deathworlders, his expression tense. "Do you think they're just waiting for us to make the first move? They must know we're not a threat. Our fleet is only one ship." Maya turned to face him, her brow furrowed in thought. "It's not that simple, Tariq. This warship is not just an offensive weapon, it's more than that. We weren't meant to have this ship, and the aliens know that. They're not afraid of our firepower, they're afraid of what we might unlock." Tariq's eyes narrowed. "You think they're afraid of us? I think they're afraid of the unknown." Maya replied, her voice steady. "And we're the unknown." The silence that hung between the two fleets felt unnerving on both sides. The tension continued to grow. General Lyra, the Empire's chief strategist, stood nearby, monitoring the communications systems. "They're watching us," she said quietly, her gaze locked on the alien fleet. "But they haven't made a move." Maya nodded, her expression grim. "The longer they wait, the more they reveal their fear. They don't know how to handle us, and that gives us an advantage." But despite their apparent advantage, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Earth had always been on the fringe of galactic politics, a forgotten world left to its own devices. But now, humanity had stumbled upon something incredibly powerful, and the universe had taken notice. What did that mean for their future? Suddenly, a sharp ping from Maya's console snapped her out of her thoughts. She turned to see a new signal flashing across the screen. A direct communication from the alien fleet. The message was encoded, but the language was recognizable. It was Galactic Common. Maya stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. "It's a message. They're trying to communicate with us. Do we respond?" General Lyra asked, looking over her shoulder. Maya hesitated. "We must, but we need to be careful with our words. The fate of Earth may depend on what we say." Next, Maya's fingers hovered over the console, her mind racing. The message from the alien fleet wasn't hostile, but there was something in the tone that hinted at something darker: uncertainty, fear. These weren't words of a species prepared to negotiate, they were the words of a species cornered by something they didn't understand. "Humanity, we have been watching you," the message began, the voice cold, yet strangely compassionate. "Your ship is unlike anything we have ever seen. We do not know what you are, but we wish to understand. Please, do not provoke us. We do not wish for war yet. If you do not leave, we will be forced to take action." The message hung in the air like a cloud of uncertainty. The alien fleet wasn't attacking, but the threat was there. Maya, her heart racing, could sense the tension on both sides. The galaxy had watched humanity for years, but now it was clear the Empire had become something much greater than any of the galaxy's rulers had ever imagined. The first encounter had been a test not just of strength, but of humanity's resolve. The aliens didn't know how to deal with a human warship, and the truth was, neither did humanity. The tension breached silence between the two fleets was growing unbearable, stretching the tension thin, ready to snap at any moment. The human warship loomed in space, its dark silhouette casting a shadow across the alien fleet. Maya stood at the control panel, her fingers trembling as she watched the communication channel flicker. The alien fleet, though massive, had not made a single aggressive move. But their words, the threat of force still hung heavy in the air. "We cannot sit idle forever," General Lyra said, her voice cold and filled with resolve. "Either we make contact and start talking, or we show them our might. But we can't afford to waste time." Maya's gaze never left the screen. The alien fleet was powerful, but it was also uncertain. They hadn't fired, hadn't attempted an attack. It was clear that they were not only assessing humanity's strength, but also trying to make sense of the human warship's true power. The message they sent, "Do not provoke us," was a veiled threat. But it was also a sign of their fear. Fear was always the precursor to action, and Maya knew that sooner or later, the aliens would have to make a choice. Maya took a deep breath, opened the communication channel. The communication panel flickered to life, and once again, the cold voice of the alien fleet's commander, Captain Raid, filled the room. "Humanity, you have shown us your strength, but I must ask, what do you want?" The words hung in the air, charged with an underlying tension. Raid's voice was calm, but there was a hint of desperation beneath the surface, something humanity had not expected. He was trying to assess, trying to read them. But Maya knew they were also testing their own resolve. Would the humans fold? Or would they hold their ground? "We want peace," Maya said, her voice steady but firm, "but not at the cost of our sovereignty. The human warship you see before you is not just a weapon. It's a symbol. A statement that humanity will no longer be underestimated or trampled on by those who believe themselves superior. This is Earth's future, and we will defend it." There was a long pause from the alien fleet. The ships hovered motionless, like a predator waiting for its prey to make a move. Raid's voice came through the calm again, this time quieter, more measured. "Your warship, it is unlike anything we have encountered. Your power, your technology. Where did you find this?" Maya hesitated, but then answered, "It wasn't found. It was built by humanity itself. The ship you see before you was forged in the flames of human innovation. It was designed for a future we are still learning to navigate, but now that it is here, you will have to decide how you wish to engage with us." The question now loomed large in the air. Would the aliens back down or escalate? Maya could feel the weight of the moment pressing on her chest. The fate of Earth was in the hands of these aliens. But she knew one thing for sure: humanity would not be intimidated or controlled. Not anymore. Suddenly, a warning light flashed on the control panel. A new transmission was coming in. The alien ships had begun to move slowly, but with purpose. They were repositioning, but not to attack. Instead, they seemed to be surrounding the warship, taking a cautious approach, as though they were unsure of how to proceed. Maya's heart raced as she processed the data. "They're surrounding us," she said softly. "Are they preparing for battle? Or are they looking for an opening to talk? Keep the weapons on standby, but don't fire unless ordered," General Lyra instructed. Her voice was calm, but the tension in her eyes betrayed the situation's gravity. She knew as well as Maya that the decision to fight or negotiate had to be made in the next few moments. There was no room for hesitation. Back on the alien flagship, Captain Raid stood by the main control panel, his hands clenched tightly around the edge. The decision to surround the human warship was risky. He had never faced anything like it before. This human ship, this human power. The galaxy had always viewed Earth as a weak planet, its people too fragmented and disorganized to pose any real threat. But now, seeing this ship, seeing the humans' confidence, he realized they had misjudged. He turned to his crew, his voice steady but with an undercurrent of nervousness. "The humans are not like we expected. They are not afraid of us. This warship, whatever its origins, has power that could rival the might of our entire fleet." A murmur of concern passed through the crew, but Raid remained resolute. "We will proceed cautiously. Contact the human warship again. Tell them we wish to discuss terms, but under our terms." Maya looked back at her team as the communication channel buzzed once more. She could feel the alien fleet's unease, their hesitation. This was no longer about fighting, it was about understanding. But the real question remained: would the aliens respect humanity's newfound power, or would they attempt to dominate Earth again? Her fingers hovered over the console as she prepared to speak once again. "To continue this delicate negotiation, we're ready to talk, but know this: we will never back down. Earth will not be a pawn in anyone's game again." The choice of the Empirith alien fleet hung suspended in space, circling the human warship like wary predators. The weight of the moment was palpable. Every officer, every crew member aboard the alien ships knew that this could either be the beginning of a new era or the start of a catastrophic war. The humans had made their position clear. They were no longer a primitive species to be ignored or conquered, and the alien fleet, for the first time, wasn't sure how to respond. Captain Raid stood at the center of the command deck, the cold light of the star shining through the viewport. His mind raced. The human warship had shown its power, and it was far beyond anything the Empire had ever anticipated. This wasn't just an act of bravado, this was a calculated message. Earth had something more dangerous than weapons. It had resolve, a will to survive and conquer on its own terms. Captain, we need to make a decision. Lieutenant Vera spoke up, her voice breaking the silence. The fleet is on high alert. We have our orders, but these humans, they're not backing down. Ray turned to face her. His expression unreadable. He knew the galaxy had viewed Earth with scorn, dismissing its people as insignificant, but now, looking at the warship, he knew they had made a grave mistake. The power that lay within the human race, the untapped potential humanity had kept hidden for so long, had been revealed in this single encounter. We have two options, Raid said, his voice calm but tinged with uncertainty. We either back off and open the path to negotiations, or we prepare for battle. But know this, if we do not respect the humans now, we risk angering them in ways that will change the galaxy forever. Vera's eyes narrowed. The humans may not have the strength to face us in battle, but their ship's power, it could be devastating if they choose to fight. Meanwhile, aboard the human warship, the air was thick with tension. Maya stood with her back to the command center, staring at the alien fleet through the viewport. The alien ships were silent, motionless. They had not taken any further actions, nor had they made any attempt to communicate again. The uncertainty was almost worse than any immediate threat. She knew they were waiting for humanity to make its move, but what could they do now? The message had been clear. The galaxy had underestimated Earth, but now, humanity had to prove its strength in ways beyond the ship's power. Maya had led them to this moment. But there was still the question of what came next. Would the alien fleet respect humanity's might, or would they try to take the galaxy from them? What are they waiting for? General Lyra asked, her voice sharp. They've been paralyzed by fear of our power, but they can't stay still forever. Maya turned slowly, her expression unwavering. They're deciding if they should engage or negotiate. If we show weakness, we will never be taken seriously again. But if we show strength, if we show that Earth is not a planet to be trampled on, they might back off. The control room was filled with the low hum of the ship's systems, the software of energy charging in preparation for what might come. The human warship stood ready. But Maya knew the next move was crucial. She had to ensure that whatever decision the aliens made, Earth would be the one to control the terms. Commander Maya, they're sending another message, the officer at the console called out, his voice shaking slightly. Maya stepped forward. The message flickered on the screen. It was a direct communication, not a coded warning like the previous one. This time, the aliens were offering a chance to talk. But the tone of the message was clear. They wanted to know what humanity would do with its newfound strength. Humanity, you have shown us your power, but we do not know your true intentions. We offer you peace if you wish to join us, but if you choose to resist, we will have no choice but to see your ship's strength as a challenge to our authority. We will respond accordingly. The words hung in the air like a trap. The aliens were offering peace, but it came with a subtle threat. If humanity didn't comply, the galaxy would see Earth's power as a challenge. It was a moment of calculated diplomacy, a test of humanity's will. Maya's eyes never left the screen. We've made it this far by showing strength. We can't back down now. The time for negotiation is over. It's time for the galaxy to know that Earth stands alone, and we will never bow to any empire again. Asterisk, the breaking point moment of truth had arrived. The alien fleet, massive and imposing, still hovered in orbit around Earth, its ships as still as statues in the vast expanse of space. The tension was so thick it could be cut with a knife. The humans aboard the warship could feel it too, the eerie calm before a storm. Maya stood at the control panel, her fingers hovering over the communications console. She had just received the alien message, a call for peace, but one with a hidden threat. Accept us into your fold, or face the consequences of your defiance. General Lyra, standing beside Maya, crossed her arms and stared out at the fleet, her face hard with determination. They want us to bend to their will. Her voice was cold, her tone unwavering. They think we're just a small planet with no real strength. They're wrong. We've been silent for far too long. Maya nodded, her gaze shifting from the alien ships to the human warship's glowing systems. The ship had been dormant for centuries, hidden beneath layers of time and dust, but now it was alive, its energy coursing through human hands, and humanity was going to use that power to define its future. The aliens had crossed the line. They were not just invading Earth, they were testing humanity's resolve. I've had enough of waiting, Maya said, her voice low but determined. We've shown them our strength, but they still don't understand. It's time to show them that we're not afraid to fight. The alien fleet shifted slightly, as if reacting to the sudden change in Maya's demeanor. Their hesitation was palpable, and it became clear that they had underestimated humanity's resolve. Captain Raid, watching the human warship from his flagship, knew the stakes were higher than ever. The warning was simple: either humanity submitted to the Galactic Empire's rule, or they would face the full might of the alien fleet. But something was different this time. He could feel it. There was something untamed, unpredictable. In humanity's will, they were no longer the helpless species they had once thought them to be. "What are you waiting for?" Raid asked. Lieutenant Vera, her voice filled with impatience. "The humans are ready. They're preparing to fight. We need to end this, now." But Captain Raid's hesitation remained. The human warship's power was unlike anything they had ever seen, and the fear of an unknown enemy had begun to set in. He knew the Empire's fleet was powerful, but this was different. These weren't the same humans they had encountered before. The warship's technology was alien in its own right, its power incomprehensible. "We don't know what we're dealing with," Raid said, his voice trailing off. "We've never seen a force like this before. We need more time to analyze the situation. We need to know what the ship can do." Back on the human warship, Maya's decision was final. The aliens were taking too long, hiding behind their arrogance. Humanity had been pushed too far, and now was the time to make Earth's place in the galaxy known. The control room buzzed with activity as Maya gave the order: "Prepare the ship's weapons. We're not waiting any longer. They'll understand that we're not going to be ruled. Activate the offensive systems." Her fingers danced across the console and the warship's systems hummed to life. The crew felt the ship's core surge with energy, sending a tremor through the deck. There was no turning back now. The Empire might have the numbers, but humanity had something far more dangerous: courage and a will to survive. General Lyra turned to Maya. "Are you sure about this? We don't know what kind of retaliation we'll face. The aliens won't hesitate to destroy us if they think we're a threat." Maya looked out at the alien fleet, her eyes steady. Asterisk, "They may think they can intimidate us, but they don't understand the heart of humanity. We have the power to fight, to win. We just need to show them that we're willing to defend our home at any cost." Asterisk, "This is the moment when we take control of our own future." With that, the human warship's weapon systems roared to life, its energy shields glowing brighter, ready for battle. The alien fleet had been given the chance to back off, but now they were about to feel the full wrath of humanity's resolve. In the alien fleet, Captain Raid was now in a state of panic. The humans weren't backing down. They were preparing for battle. He had been hoping for peace, for a negotiation. But the humans had made it clear there would be no negotiation. The warship wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol. Humanity was declaring their independence. And the aliens were faced with the reality that their empire was no longer the uncontested power in the galaxy. "Raid, we need to act now," Vera urged, her voice sharp. "We've underestimated them for too long. It's time to show them that we're not afraid." Raid stood still for a moment, the weight of the decision crushing him. He had no choice but to engage. The battle for Earth there in the control room was thick with anticipation. As Maya stood at the helm of the human warship, she could feel the weight of the decision they had made settling in. The power they had unleashed vibrating beneath her fingertips. The alien fleet, which had once been seen as an unshakable force, was now facing a humanity that had long been underestimated. No longer a mere speck in the galaxy, Earth was a powerhouse, and it was about to prove it. As Maya issued the final orders, the weapon systems of the warship hummed to life. Red warning lights blinked across the control panels, alerting everyone to the gravity of what was about to happen. The alien fleet was in position, surrounding Earth's orbit, hesitant, but waiting for any sign of movement. They knew that the next move would determine everything. They had expected humanity to back down, to negotiate in the face of such overwhelming power, but instead, they were about to witness something different. A new force had entered the galactic stage, and it was no longer going to be ruled. The alien fleet, led by Captain Raid, was caught in a moral dilemma. The fleet had its orders to engage with humanity and show them their place. But there was a growing fear among the ranks. The human warship, though only a single vessel, was far more advanced than they could have ever imagined. It was a weapon of destruction. But it was also a symbol, a declaration that humanity would no longer bow to alien authority. "Captain Raid, the humans are powering up their weapons," shouted Lieutenant Vera, her voice trembling with unease. "They're preparing for battle." The alien fleet hesitated, but it was already too late. The human warship had locked onto the lead alien ship and fired a piercing energy blast that lit up the stars like a burst of light. The blast hit the alien vessel with an earth-shattering force, sending it spiraling into the void, destroyed in an instant. "What was that?" Vera gasped, stunned by the brutal efficiency of the strike. "They've just declared war," Captain Raid muttered, realizing the gravity of the situation. "We have no choice now. We must retaliate. The battle had begun and the galaxy would never be the same as alien ships surged forward, firing on the human warship. Maya stood firm at the command station. Her hand was steady as she ordered the ship's weapons to engage, unleashing a barrage of plasma fire that struck the alien ships with deadly accuracy. The humans were fighting with unprecedented fury, their every action a testament to the resilience that had been growing within humanity for centuries. As the alien ships retaliated, the warship's shields flickered, absorbing the impacts but holding steady. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their place in the galaxy, and for the freedom that had long been denied to them. They had faced slavery, oppression, and neglect. But now they were showing the galaxy that humanity would never be a pawn again. "We've hit their flagship," shouted Commander Kieran, one of Maya's trusted officers. As the alien flagship shuddered under the force of their blast, "It's taking damage." Maya's lips curled into a grim smile. The battle was turning in their favor, but she knew they had to act quickly. The alien fleet was formidable, but human ingenuity and courage were their greatest weapons. "Prepare for the final strike," Maya ordered. "We're going to end this now. Lock onto their command ship and make it our last target." As the final moments of the battle approached, the alien fleet, though much larger, was beginning to crumble under the relentless pressure of humanity's newfound power. The human warship was unstoppable, its weapons precise, its resolve unyielding. The alien ships were no match for the speed and firepower of the warship, and one by one, they were falling, disintegrating into the void. But even as the alien fleet was being destroyed, Captain Raid didn't surrender. He watched as his forces were being wiped out. But he knew that the Empire would come for Earth. His face was set in determination. The humans had shown their strength, but the galaxy's fate wasn't sealed yet. Maya felt a rush of emotion as the final alien ship was destroyed. Humanity had won, but at what cost? The empire they had built, the future they had imagined, was now on the line. The Galactic Council would surely retaliate for this affront to their power. The Empire would come for them. The warship slowly floated in the space between the wreckage of the alien fleet, its crew exhausted but proud. The battle had been hard-fought, but it had been won. For now, Earth stood triumphant, its fate no longer determined by the will of the Empire. The galaxy's reckoning. Last remnants of the alien fleet drifted through space, their once immense ships now little more than wreckage in the vast void. Humanity had done the unthinkable. They had defeated an empire. The human warship, still intact, hovered above Earth like a sentinel, its crew standing at the ready, waiting for the inevitable aftermath. Maya stood in the command center, looking out at the wreckage of the alien fleet below. The victory was theirs, but the cost of it was beginning to sink in. Humanity had claimed their place in the galaxy, but with that claim came the realization that their struggle had only just begun. The Empire would not forget this defeat, and they would not allow it to stand unchallenged. A new galactic war was on the horizon, and Earth was now a target. "We've done it," General Lyra said, her voice almost in disbelief as she stared at the destroyed fleet. "But this is just the beginning. We've drawn the line in the sand, and the Empire will come to collect." Maya's gaze hardened, her determination growing with every passing moment. She knew the battle was far from over. They had won this war, but what awaited them next would be even more challenging. The Empire would strike back with everything it had, but humanity now had something it never had before: a weapon, a warship, and most importantly, resolve. On the alien flagship, Captain Raid stood in front of the war-torn remains of his command deck. His heart was heavy, his mind clouded with frustration. He had never expected humanity to strike back like this. Their first contact had started as a simple mission, but it had now become a defining moment for the galaxy. The humans had showed their power in a way that no one could ignore. "What now, Captain?" asked Lieutenant Vera, her voice sharp with urgency. "The crew had been decimated, their fleet in ruins. How do we report this to the Empire?" Raid's fingers tapped against the console in front of him as he processed the aftermath. The Empire would be furious, and they would want revenge, but deep down, he knew that the humans weren't just a threat, they were something far more dangerous. A wild card in the galactic order. The aliens had underestimated humanity's resilience, and now they were paying the price. "We don't report this to the Empire just yet," Raid said, his voice grim. "We need to assess the situation. The Empire might be angry, but they need to understand that Earth is not going to kneel. The humans have proven they have the strength to fight back on Earth." The mood was a mix of celebration and unease. The human fleet had won, but as the debris from the alien ships floated through space, the crew knew that their victory was bittersweet. Maya and her team had fought hard, but they had also awakened something greater than they could have ever imagined. The Empire would come back, stronger and more ruthless than before. The galaxy would remember Earth as the planet that had defied the Empire, And it wouldn't forget the cost of that defiance. We've won today. But the real challenge is still to come, Maya said to her crew. The Empire has been shaken. They'll come back, but we have something they don't, the will to fight. She looked around at the team, the men and women who had stood by her side throughout this war. Their faces were tired but determined. They had just proven that they could stand toe-to-toe with the galaxy's greatest powers, but now, they had to prepare for the war to come. Earth's future would no longer be about survival, it would be about dominance, and humanity's place in the stars was now at the heart of the conflict. As Maya and the crew began their preparations for the next phase of humanity's fight, the galactic pulse began to change. The Empire would not forget their humiliation. They would send ships, fleets, and reinforcements to crush humanity once and for all. But as Maya stood in the control room, staring out at the vast stars, she knew that Earth had changed. The galaxy had always been a place of the strong, where only the dominant species survived. But humanity had just shown that they would no longer be weak, no longer be overlooked. They were fighters now, and they would take what was theirs. They would never again bow to the galactic powers. The first battle was over, but the war was just beginning. The galaxy would never be the same.